everyone, and welcome to Pursue the Call, the podcast that is geared towards helping people who are looking for a career change and for those who want to pursue their dreams and work for themselves and set up their own business. So there's a lot of inspirational podcasts out there, but the way that we actually differ is we interview people from a range of different industries. So if you want to set up your own restaurant or your own marketing agency or floristry, whatever it is, we have someone specifically from that industry to tell you where and how to start, the highs and lows, and most importantly, the truth. So we are one group, one community, and we have all of the answers. So I am your host, Stacey Bevan, and today I have an amazing guest. So I am with Rachel Hill, who is the owner of Rochelle's Beautiful Bespoke Cakes. First of all, thank you for joining us, Rachel. We are really looking forward to having you today and having the insight that you're about to give us. Hi.
Hi everyone.
So before we go into the questions that have been devised by our audience, I just want to give a bit of background into your company and what it is that you actually offer. So, as I mentioned, you are a bespoke cake company and you make bespoke wedding cakes, celebration cakes, and you particularly specialise in working with buttercream, piped florals and palette knife work. This sounds incredible, by the way. You also work with fondant and sugar flowers, and you specifically love the more rustic organic look. Now, your company has been trading for about 15 years and you are entirely self-taught. You achieve a huge amount of personal success and are featured in many magazines, and you've also received a lot of awards, including being a finalist in the Baking Industry Awards as a celebration cake maker, but also Business of the Year in the Federation of Small Businesses at the London Business Awards. You've also featured in several books, including Great Cake Places, that is a tongue twister, by the way, but also 100 of London's Best Places for Cake and 100 of London's Most Entrepreneurial Women in Business. And just finally, you are not planning to stop there. For the future, you've just launched your online cake school, and we'll be taking that forward with more exciting classes and face-to-face workshops. So this is absolutely incredible. And I'm just going to jump straight into the first question because I'm eager to know, where did this all start? So let's look at your background. Like, what did you do before starting a business? Was you in employment, and how did you kind of make that transition into what you're doing now? So can you give us just a bit of the background story?
Wow. It's funny how life has twists and turns. I was a trained set designer, so I left uni. I did a degree in theatre, set design and costume, and I moved to London to find fame and fortune as a set designer, working in film, commercials, pop videos. So I had a brilliant career doing that. And then we had an economic downturn around 2007. Like, we're having a permanent economic downturn at the moment, but yeah, in 2007, lots of things went wrong for lots of people, and I lost a lot of my freelance work. I was a freelance designer then, sort of flitting between various exciting jobs, and then all of a sudden I used to get my work week by week, and then suddenly it just stopped. I had nothing. Wow. It was quite a difficult time in my life as my mum nearly died, and I walked out on a relationship. So I basically went from having work to nothing, and I had to pay the bills. I had to pay my mortgage, and I was like, what do I do? So going right back to the beginning, when I was younger, my dad used to own a deli, and I used to make the odd cake and sell it in his deli, and this was when I was a teenager, I don't know, 15 or something. So I decided, I went back to my flat that I used to rent out in London because I walked out on the relationship. So I lost a lot of stuff in 2007, and I was rock bottom. So I started off by selling coffee shop cakes and bakes and doing a little market stall on a Sunday. and using the money from that to pay the mortgage and to buy some books in order to teach myself to make more specialist cakes that I could get more money for.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it started. And then 2008, I suddenly had a little bit of a confidence boost. God knows where it came from. And I signed up to do a big wedding fair at Olympia in London. It was called the National Wedding Show, and it cost me about £2,000 to have a stand at this show. And I thought, I'm going to dive in at the deep end. I'm going to make loads of fake cakes, and I'm going to put them on this stand and keep my fingers crossed and see if someone comes and books a cake. And they did. So that's where it kind of started.
Wow. So, I mean, that leads me on to kind of the next question, and you kind of part answered that, but did you have any money to invest fully initially? Because some people think about, they have this business idea and they're kind of like, okay, maybe I should, give some equity stake away and get people to invest in my business. I mean, did you start with that 2K, or did you need any more money to invest?
No, I had no money, basically.
Wow.
I don't even know where I found that money. I didn't get any loans. I didn't borrow any money from family or friends. I just took a plunge. I worked really hard. I was in a flat. I turned the second bedroom into an area where I could make cakes, and I slaved away making some demo cakes for that exhibition. And then I just put my hand in my pocket and paid the money for the stand in order to get myself out there. But it worked, because at that very first show, this was before the age of the Great British Bake Off. This was because cake making has become, there's a lot of people out there thinking they can just make cakes and sell them and they can make a business. And so I started this before all of this cake and bake shows and Cake International and all of this cakey stuff appeared on the telly. So I was quite new. So people showed an interest in me. The magazine showed an interest in me. And actually, I even got asked to go on Dragon's Den, which was very random, because I was like, would I just make cakes? I've not invented anything. They're looking for new, fresh businesses. So I got popular quite quickly, but I think if you were going to do that now, the competition has changed. Things have changed. The whole world of cake decorating has changed. People don't just want, cakes in themselves have become works of art. So there's a lot of different technique involved. But no investment at all. I was skin, basically. I just put a lot of hard work in.
Yeah. So, where did you get that inspiration from? Like, is there anyone that you followed in particular? Is there any books that you read to give you that, inspiration to actually go out and do this? Did anyone give you that? Or was it just that personal drive that you had, that you thought, right, no, I think
it was personal drive, really. As I say, a lot of things went wrong for me at that time, and I was kind of on my own again. So deep down, I had this, whilst I was scared, I was like, I've got to be strong. I spent many long nights in my second bedroom, my little workshop.
Yeah.
How to do stuff and creating these when you do a stand, if you're a cake maker, you make what they call dummy cakes. So these are like fake cakes iced over polystyrene, made to look like real cakes. And I spent an awful lot of time perfecting my skills, reading books. There wasn't even a lot of YouTube stuff around back then to watch. All of this has changed now, the whole Instagram, YouTube, being able to watch loads of free stuff. I worked really hard at it, and I took a big risk, and I was like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to pretend. I actually pretended that I'd been doing it. To be honest, I lied. I took jobs. I pretended I'd, when clients come along, that sounds awful. I lied.
No, this is all true here.
I had to put confidence in myself. I sort of pretended like I could do it. So I knew that I could. So I kind of, my prices were low, and I took on jobs giving clients the impression that I'd done lots of it when actually I hadn't. So I then took that job home, but knew I could do a good job just by taking longer over it, maybe earning less money. I had to build up my skill and my confidence. But I took a real leap of faith and just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to that a bit more, because a lot of people, you know, they have that self-doubt and they have a lot of fear, and it actually prevents people from taking that step. Is there any advice that you can give to overcome that? I know you've mentioned a couple of things already, but is there anything, you know, that you could give to or say to our audience to be like, look, we all have this fear, is, you know, how can they overcome it?
The market is tough at the moment and there's a lot of competition, but in terms of overcoming the fear, I think you have to have confidence in your skill. So in the beginning, I got that confidence by undercharging. So something that I should have charged £100 for, I maybe only sold for 50, because that gave me a bit of leeway. If I did a crappy job, I kind of knew deep down that I wouldn't, because I had, whilst I'd never made cakes before, I'm an artist, so I had the skill level, I just hadn't done the job, if that makes sense. So I've always been very creative, so I knew if I learned the basics that I could produce the product, but because I'd never done it before, so for example, someone would ask me for something specific, a chocolate cake, say they wanted a chocolate cake covered in a specific decoration, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can do that, that'll be £300. And really I was only just covering my costs, and then I took that away and treated that as a project to learn how I would do this specific kind of decoration. So I would treat a job almost like a project. So when I'd done it and I was like, wow, that's really nice cake, Rach, next time round I charged £600, because I knew that I could do that cake well. So it was kind of a secret learning curve for me, as most of my work kind of is. I think you have to have the confidence that you can, it's like writing a book. Not everybody's written a book, you know. I'd love to do a book. Have I written a book? No, I haven't. Could I? Maybe I could.
Amazing. And you have like touched on elements of this question, but how did you identify your passion? Because a lot of people out there, they do want a career change, but some of them struggle to know, okay, well, what is my passion? And, you know, it's important to be passionate about what you do, but how did you identify that this was something that you were going to do and you were going to build a business in? Was it just a gradual process, would you say? Was it just kind of, okay, it's the pandemic, this has happened, I want to do something that's working for myself? Or why cakes?
See, I'd always, even when I left London with my theatre degree to enter that world of filming and TV, I was only ever in full-time employment for 3 months by this one company. And then they lost lots of money and we were all made redundant, but they started getting me back once a week on a freelance basis. So I've only ever worked for 3 months as an employee for a company in my whole life. So I've always known what it's like to try to generate new work. And in the beginning, it's hard, because I would sit there going, oh, but I haven't got a job next week, and are they going to call me up, and when's the next job going to be? And I was having to sort of send out my CV and generate my own work. So I became used to that. I've never been on the payroll. I've never had my lunch tickets or my sick pay and all of that. I've never had. So I didn't really have it to compare to a normal job. So I had to find the drive myself. If I didn't get off my butt and hand out my leaflets or put an advert in a magazine or email all the wedding glossies to say, look, this is me, I'm new, have you seen my new cake? I didn't get, you know, you don't get the adverts. People, I always remember someone saying to me, if you sit at home waiting for someone to call you up and book you for something, if you haven't told people that you're there, then they're not going to call you, because they don't know that you're there to do the job. So you have to kick your own butt. Self-motivation is hard when you work for you.
And why cakes? Like you said, you were an artist, you're a skilled artist, you know, why cakes?
Well, so back to when I was at art college, back living home with my mum and dad, and my dad owned this deli. Me and my friend Katie we were trying to make a bit of extra money, and we would make these like silly novelty cakes We had a little advert on the counter, and it started there, really.
Okay.
My family have always been good cooks, so I knew I could bake. And then, I just
started there.
It just started, I think.
And it just stuck with you.
I love cooking.
Yeah.
And so back when I lost all my filming work, I started at the beginning knowing that I could bake well by making coffee shop cakes and bakes, like carrot cakes, chocolate brownies, and I was selling those whilst teaching myself the skill of proper cake decoration, because I knew there was more money in cake decoration than there was in selling a slice of carrot cake to a coffee shop.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. Okay. And so we've talked about kind of your journey up until a point, but now one thing that the audience wants to know is, how did you get it to that next level of your business? So how did you grow it? You said that you started off by charging a bit less, but how have you managed to grow it? I mean, you've been trading for 15 years, so how have you managed to grow the business? And did you have any crises through this journey that you had to overcome? Anything major that happened that you had to overcome? How did you grow, essentially, and get to where you are today?
So from when I started in 2008, then I mentioned previously that I was a bit rock bottom. I was even like borderline depressed, to be honest, because my mum had nearly died. I'd walked out on a relationship, and my whole life had gone back to square one, and I'd lost all my work. So I did spend quite a few dark days, a lot of dark days in my flat back in London, knowing that I had to make it work. How did I make it grow? So I started off with low prices, and then as my confidence grew, I took more pictures, I appeared in more magazines, and then I was like, do you know what, Rach, you can do this. But then I increased the prices, and then I decided to give my business a proper name, because I'd actually named it something random. I'd called it Planet Cake in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
I'd made it up.
Yeah.
And unbeknown to me, there's actually a very large Australian cake company called Planet Cake. And as I got good at my job, people started to think that I was the big, clever Australian company. And I would get all these messages, and I'm like, but that's not me. So I rebranded and made proper business cards, because in the beginning I made my own. I cut them up out of pieces of cardboard.
Wow.
And when I rebranded, then things took a bit of a turn. I'd gained confidence, and then I realized how much my flat was worth. Yeah. So I sold my flat, and I used to run past this house on this street, and I thought, I wonder if I could afford that house, and I could, and I bought this house, and suddenly I had a lovely big kitchen where I was happy to invite clients. It was cleaner. I managed to get a big double oven installed. Wow. and the business just sort of grew that way. As my confidence grew, I went back to the person that I was. I was a bit squashed in the previous relationship, and so I became Rachel again, creative Rachel, and I'd managed to buy myself this nice house with a big kitchen, and I wasn't working in the second bedroom anymore. And then things just grew. My confidence grew, and people wanted my work, and I didn't have to push it so more. People found me. My Google ratings went up. Wow. The more cake I did, the better. I worked hard to make sure that every job I did, even if it wasn't paying me quite as much as I wanted, that it was perfect. And that got me the good. And
like a lot of word of mouth as well, I suspect. Incredible. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, you've given us so much insight, and you've been so real in what you've said, and that's what we want to hear. So just to kind of end, and, what advice would you give to people out there who are thinking about starting their own company? What advice would you give to them?
You have to be confident in your skill. I mean, you really do. Okay. I wasn't in the beginning. You have to be confident, and you have to be prepared to invest your time. Particularly if you're starting a business and you're on your own. I've always been on my own. I've never had I had a lady come and bake for me a little bit once, but that was when I had my son. I'm a single parent, so I have to be careful with my time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, my business has grown again now. The pandemic was a huge hit, and everything went again. So I taught myself yet another new skill, and I've now launched my online classes. And I and I quit London and I moved to Dorset just 6 months ago, and now I'm living my little dream. But it's hard. You have to have confidence in yourself. So I think money aside, know that you've got a good product that people want to spend their money on, and be confident when you put it out there. Don't be all sort of, you're like, I do this is how I do it, and I do it really well. Come to me and I'll do you a good job.
And it's that time and consistency, I suppose, as well, being consistent in what it is that you're trying to do and trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a small business. I'm just me and my cake business, and it's me that does everything from my tax return to the shopping to the cooking. I could get more people involved, but I love the craft, and I don't want to be the shop on the high street where I'm always doing the admin and I'm not doing the thing that excites me. So you have to think about where you want your business to go. I mean, like I said, I'm small time really, but I'm only small time because I'm not a multi-millionairess with like 50 people churning out my cakes in a unit. I'm just Rachel at home, making what I love and doing online classes and showing other people what I love to do. And I like that, and I like it that way. And I get to say who, I say when.
Yeah. Incredible.
My little pretty woman quote there. I say it how it is, and if I don't get, I've got to put in the work to get out of it what I want to get out of it. So I think you'd need to write down what you want to get out of your business, and if it is to make, be a multimillionairess and sit on your yacht in 10 years' time, then you might have to approach it a little bit differently to the way that I do.
Amazing. Look, thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you for being so transparent and telling us your journey. I'm sure there's a lot that people can take from this, so it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.